Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Let's continue our journey to implement this masterpiece of an application, cross-platform application. You have seen in the previous tutorial how to do or how to use resources and factories and seeders, and what is the purpose for resources and seeders and factories. And you have basically discovered the beauty of Laravel. Laravel is, for me, it's the greatest framework out there for PHP, and I use Laravel on daily basis. On every project, actually, I've used Laravel, and I'm very happy with it. Today, we're going to focus on the controllers and basically the business logic of our API. We'll have two controllers. The first one is going to be for the product, and the second one is going to be for user and user authentication. Great. So now we will create the first controller by running this command, php artisan make controller. This is just a personal preference. I prefer to add API folder and to group all the controllers inside the API folder. Product controller. So inside the folder API and products controller, the first method that we will do is to list or to paginate the products. So Laravel has already done this for us. So it's going to be very simple. We will declare a function. We will call it paginate, and it's going to give us an anonymous resource collection. We will get the list of products by product and products model. We will group the product by, gonna order, of course, by created as. We will do just 9 items per page. Why? Because we want to have 3 items per row. So it's going to be easily and beautifully representable on the front end. So at the end, it's going to return the product preview resources that we have done in the previous tutorial, and we will pass in parameter. It's going to be, of course, a collection because not a single one. So it's going to be a collection of items, and we will pass in parameter the product. The next function, it's going to give us the detail. So public function. Keep in mind, we are just now defining the controller. Afterward, it's going to we're going to show you how to link between the API endpoint and the controller. It's going to be very easy, and Laravel has done this for us. So it's going to be get details, and we need to pass in parameter the product itself. So why we need to pass in parameter product? Because if the product does not exist, it's going to give us 404. So instead of running here a query to check and do if found return product detail, and if not throw 404 or show 404 page, Laravel is pretty smart, and it's going to check from the given ID from the API and assign it to the specific product model. And if it does exist, it's going to continue the function. Otherwise, it's going to give 404. So the model is not found. So very easily and very simple, it's going to give us new product and resource, because this is the detailed product, and in parameter the products model. As simple as this. As you can see, Laravel did all the heavy work for us. We need actually our application to give us the product suggestions. What I mean with that, once the user is typing on the search bar, it's gonna give us the suggested products according to some criteria that we're going to define afterward. So I'm going to create a new function. I'm gonna call it suggestions. So the suggestions, we pass in parameter the request, and the request is going to contain the data, or the form data actually. It's going to be an anonymous collection, resource collection. First of all, we will define the products or the list of products that's going to be the results of our function, an empty array, and the search query that we'll define afterward in the API call. So from the API call, we will get this parameter, search query, and we will store it into value. You shouldn't do this in production, but for this tutorial, gonna keep it just simple. If the string is not empty, we will run the function. Regardless, it's gonna give us the product preview, because we're going to use just the preview, not the detailed product resource. and it's going to be again collection. When you hear collection, it means it's going to give us an array of products preview resources. In other words, it's going to give us a list of DTOs. So how to do this? It's going to be the products model, because in Laravel all the SQL queries are from the model itself. So because the products model is extending from the model so from the class that's called model. So all the queries are defined inside model. So I'm going to use the simple query, which is where. So where the title, and it's going to be like the value and another percentage. Another criteria, it will be the description, ordered by, created at. It's going to be descending. We're going to limit the suggestions to 10 items, and we will get the array of models. The last method that we will define in our product controller, it's going to be when we will hit search, it's going to give us pretty much the same thing here as we have done in the pagination. It's going to be a pagination of search results. So I'm going to call it search, and we will use the request here with the same thing. It's going to give us an anonymous resource collection. And basically we will use pretty much the same logic here. I'm going to copy this one, initialize the product. We'll get the search query, and we'll define the same criteria as before, but we won't do limit or get. Instead of get, we will do here paginate with the same thing. It's going to be 9 items, and that's all. Let's move to the last controller, which is the user controller. So with the same thing, I'm going to run this command, PHP artisan make controller, user controller. Purpose for this particular model or particular controller, it's going to handle authentication, registration, populate the list of wishlist items, and add or delete wishlist item, or add or delete products from or to wishlist item. So let's create a new function, login parameter request. Laravel provides authentication facade. It's going to attempt to authenticate the user from the request. We'll take only from the request, email, and password. The authentication fails with the provided email and password from the request. We will return no data, which is basically JSON data. So here it's going to be null. As status code, it's going to be a response, HTTP unauthorized. If there is the attempt of authentication has failed, we will return null, and it's going to give us the status 401. If we have successfully authenticated, we will store the user here, because we have the authenticated user from the auth facade. So this is the authenticated user. Now, if the authenticated user is null, there is no authenticated user, because this can be null. So we're going to early return this response. We will define here an error message. We're not going to hard code the error messages. We're going to create lang or strings that's going to be ready for translation. So in here, I'm going to run this command, PHP artisan lang and publish. It's going to publish for us the lang files. Lang files published successfully. So if we check the lang files, I don't know. Yeah, here we go. It's going to be on the lang folder, and we have authentication, pagination, and validation. In order to access a certain string from the lang file or lang folder, this is a function, underscore, and parentheses parameter. We're going to do auth, which stands for the auth PHP file, and the key. The key here, it's going to be auth failed. Failed is whenever there is no user found, it's going to give us these credentials do not match our record as a status code 401 code. So now we have to create the GWT token. In order to do so, I'm going to store it here in this variable, and we will call it or use it from the user model. And from the user model, we will call the create token. It seems that it doesn't recognize this create token. And why? Because we have forgot to use another trait from Sanctum, which has API tokens. And let's pass into the parameter from the user name. I'm going to create the token from the username. We have to get the plain token basically by accessing the plain token as a text. All right, so now we have the GWT token and we have to feed it to the API. But before that, we have to get all the necessary data so we can have a very structured DTO. So before returning the response, we need to load the wishlist. So we need to get the user data as well as the wishlist items of this authenticated user. So what we have to do, we're going to load this relationship eagerly, wishlist, and because it's nested relationship, product. So we're going to get the wishlist with the products. If we don't do that, it's going to give us only the wishlist. There will be no product detail. So, but if we do wishlist.product, it's going to give us the wishlist and the product detail. And finally, we will return a response. The first data is going to be the user, and the second thing that we need is the token itself. And that's pretty much it. Let's proceed to the register method. So it's going to be very simple. Public function register, and we will pass into parameter the request. We will surround this block with try catch. In order to protect our application from SQL injection, we will add a request. It's not going to be a normal request. We will create our custom request. Let's run this command, php artisan make request. Let's call it register request. You can call it, for example, register user request. I'm just going to keep it simple, register request. So inside the folder register request, we need to define what are the rules of this register request. We don't need actually to authorize or unauthorize the user on some conditions, so it's going to be true. So it's going to be basically a public request. Let's define the validation rules of the fields. This is going to basically protect your application from SQL injection. So if it's not a string, for example, it's not going to pass. So the request is going to be rejected. So the first rule is going to be for name. That's going to be provided by the user or by the clients. And what I mean with the clients, it's the software or the Android application or the Vue application or Swift application. So it's going to be required. What is the type of this field? It's going to be string. The next criteria, it's going to be for email. It will be it has to be a valid email. So first of all, it's going to be required, should be unique. Laravel is the greatest framework out there because when you do unique from the user's table, it's going to check automatically if the user has, if the email has been already registered in our database or not. So it's pretty simple. Instead of running code here in the controller to check if the user exists or not with the given email, just by typing required, just by typing unique from the user's table, it's going to check if the user already exists by the given email or not. And it should be a valid email. Password, it's going to be confirmed. It has to respect this regex. So I'm not going to go crazy and type the regex manually. So this is the regex. Basically, it's going to have one uppercase, at least one number, and at least one character. Password confirmation, it should match the password that we have done. Required, and the minimum, the length of 8 characters. Just to make things convenient, we need to override the formatted validation response because we don't want to use the provided, the defaults provided rules or defaults provided messages by Laravel. So in order to do that, we're going to override this function. It's going to be protected, failed validation attempt. So in order to do that, I hate to see this kind of declaration. So just keep in mind, it's going to be from Illuminate contracts and validation. So we will get, just to format things and to make things readable, we'll get the errors from the validation. So validator, and we get the list of errors, and we'll convert it to array. Let's create a new array. Let's call it errors. Errors response, error message, validator, and let's access the first error message because Why first? Because in our case, we only define the first error message. So it's going to be only the first error message we will get. We will get the list of errors from the variables we have defined before, errors. At the end, we need to throw new exception, HTTP response exception, and the response will be response, and it's going to be from JSON. It's going to be, of course, again, a JSON response. We have already the response formatted before. Type of response, it's going to be response, or the type of error by the request. So that's pretty much it for the register request. I'm going to use this register request instead of a normal request. So register request to check if the entered or the provided data are valid data or not. So we're going to store the validated data in this array, validated data, which is from the request, and we will call validated. Be careful here, it's not validate, but it's validated. So we're going to get the validated data. So basically what's going to happen when we get the register request, it's going to validate. If it's validated data, we're going to continue. Otherwise, it's going to throw the exception that we have defined here, which is new HTTP response exception with this data and with this status code. Now we have the validated data, and in order to access a field, for example, the password, we can do validated data, and because it's an associative array, we will access the password by doing password. So we have the password, make a secured password by running this function hash from the hash facade, and it's going to be make hashed password from this value or from this validated data, because right now we are just overriding the value of the password by the new. This is the new validated data, and this is the old validated data. So it's going to hash the password from the old validated data from the array by accessing the password key. And we will create the user by doing user model, and we will do create. So instead of running a SQL query, we have a create method that's going to run the same thing, which is creating a new record in our database by the validated data. So now we have created the user by the validated data, and we're going to store this created user in this variable. And we will send a new event telling this, hey, we have a new registered user in order to trigger the event. We're going to see what is exactly this event. This is a registered event. This is by default from Laravel, and we have to pass the user model. So when we do event new registered user, so we are basically firing a new event called registered. There are some parts of our application that listen for the events and respond with a couple of code that they are predefined by Laravel. For example, sending a welcome email, login analytics, triggering notifications. So whatever we want to do in our registered event. So this is basically, to summarize, when Laravel says event new registered event, it signals that a user has just been registered, and any listener attached to this event will run automatically. It's a good thing, actually, because it decouples registration logic from actions like sending emails or login. And after rising or triggering the event, we will return JSON response, and we will send just a simple message. So again, not hard coding anything. We will get the message from the lang folder, authentication file, and let's attach the message registered. You have been registered successfully. This is the message we will get. Created. HTTP created. So that's it. That's it for the registration function. So what are the unhandled exceptions that we will deal with? So the first one is going to be query exception. So instead of register, we're going to do errors, because we have here the errors PHP file. It's defined. An error occurred while registering. Please try again. Just a generic one. The other exception, maybe that's going to happen, it's let's do a generic exception. So catch, the error message will be unexpected error. And here it's not going to be created. It's going to be internal server error. Same thing here. It's going to be internal server error, showing that we have a message, error message 500. So an unexpected error occurred. Please try again. So let's add the last function for this tutorial. It's going to be public function. It's going to give us the authenticated user. Laravel has done a very good job, giving us a lot of shortcuts actually without reinventing the wheel. We can access the authenticated user just by passing the request, and it's saved from the request. Instead of using the auth facade, we can just do request, call user. Now we have the authenticated user. If the user is null, we'll do an early return with the same thing here. Just copy this. Instead of error message, it's going to be just data and null, unauthenticated, unauthorized. If user is authenticated, we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to load this the model or the nested relationship eagerly. We will return the data of the user. So instead of an array, it's going to be just data with the new user resource file, or with the user class or resource class. And I'm going to call this branch API controllers part 1, other methods for the part 2. So if you will, you can check the branch if you want to see the code or the entire code for this tutorial. I hope you liked the video, and see you in the next one. Happy coding.